everyone, and welcome to the Smart Finances podcast. I am your host, Yezmin Thomas, and I am extremely happy that you are back today with me. If you know, I've mentioned in my previous episode, this season 2 of my podcast will be totally useless unless you take action on the concepts that we discuss during these sessions, okay? You should consider these as your financial coaching sessions. These will be amazing opportunities for you to implement knowledge to change the path of your finances. So if you're someone who's in debt, if you're someone who's feeling stressed about money, if you are someone that has dreams of opening a business or becoming your own boss or really being independent, financially speaking, this podcast has been created to help you jumpstart on that journey. Now, many of you know that deep in my heart, the purpose of Smart Finances podcast is to empower women to be smarter with their money. That doesn't mean that the guys listening or watching this are not going to find it useful. This is really for everyone, anyone who has the desire to improve their financial situation, either for yourself, for your kids, for your family, just for the enjoyment of having financial freedom to travel, to get things, to do things. This is not a podcast about frugality. I am not a proponent of living on the cheap. I am cheap for many things, but for a reason, because I have goals. So when I am cheap in some areas, that's because I'm trying to save money to achieve certain financial goals. You know, that could be paying my house off early. That is my next big goal. Paying the house off early, going to Disney World again, paying cash for it. Remember, I don't do anything anymore that does not require me to pay cash for. I don't finance anything anymore. I do not believe in getting in debt. I am totally anti-debt, and that might sound crazy for you. That sounded crazy for me 10 years ago. But after 10 years of practicing principles that led me into a path, number one, to believe that I could become debt-free, and number two, to actually getting stuff debt-free, I can tell you my life is 100% better, and I've never been happier. Pursuing a debt-free lifestyle has allowed me to make a career move, start my own business, and the most important thing, spend more time with my family. So with that being said, I hope that you don't just listen or watch this episode and just go on with your life, because it would be a total waste of your time and my time, because I am creating this to motivate you. What I want you to do is to put it into practice. And the first place where you need to put this into practice is by going to yezminthomas.com and enroll to any of my free trainings or download any of my free resources. If you want to really improve your finances, head over to yezminthomas.com, YEZMINTHOMAS, and enroll or download any of my free resources to help you improve your finances. And just to let you know, I am working on getting it easier for you to get to my resources. So I will have specific domains that I'm going to be sharing with you in the next couple of weeks that will make it easier for you to get to my resources. But for now, just head over to my blog, to my website, and take advantage of those free resources. So getting to the heart of this episode, I want to talk to you today about my darkest financial moment, my financial rock bottom. Why is it important that I tell you about the worst time in my financial life? Because I think that everyone goes through rough times, but not everyone talks about those rough times. In fact, if you go to Facebook, and this is part of the reason why I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook, I actually call it fakesbook. I think a lot of people are fake on Facebook, and I don't like fake people. I think that being real is about accepting your mistakes and talking about your successes and your failures, and that's what I'm trying to do on my podcast. So don't send me a Facebook friend request on my personal page, because honestly, I don't even spend time there. Go to my fan page and you can follow me there, and you can see, you can get my new blog posts and all that stuff. However, a lot of people like to pretend that they're doing much better than they actually are. And I have never been a pretentious person. And when I had my financial rock bottom, and I talk about it mine, but in reality, it was it was my husband's and I. But this is my story. I'm not at liberty to share what he was thinking or feeling because I don't even know, that was going on inside of his head. I am sharing with you my side of our financial rock bottom. So that's why I call it my financial rock bottom. So going through it, it was a period, a very dark period in my time, because this was about 10 or 11 years ago when the recession was, in all its splendor. The recession had hit. Unemployment was like 15%. My husband couldn't find a job. I was the sole provider. I wasn't making enough money to pay for all the bills that we had, and I was very stressed. And I have to make a parenthesis here, and I need to tell you that from that experience, I gained so much respect for working men. Men that, I don't want to say working men, but like men by default in society have the responsibility of providing for the family. At least that's how I was raised. The men have to go to work and the women stay home with the kids. Things have changed. I was raised in Mexico, so things have changed now, right? However, there's still that sense that the men are the main responsible to provide for the family. And I realized that is a huge responsibility for men to have. And I never considered that. And so going through the recession and being the main provider for my family for a period of time was eye-opening, because I never considered how that weighted on my husband, to know that he was the main provider and to know that he couldn't provide. And so I just want to let you all know that the men who are listening to this, I have a very high respect for what you do, because even if we have a household where both men and women are working, I think by default, we think that the man in the house is the main responsible for providing for the family. And there is a lot of weight on that. And I just wanted to do that parenthesis to let you know that's something I learned too during the recession and during our financial rock bottom. But in this specific period of my life, about 10 or 11 years ago, I didn't tell most people what was going on inside closed doors. My parents knew, my husband's parents knew, not a lot of people knew, because I didn't know how to talk about it. Like, number one, we don't grow up talking about money. We don't grow up talking about how to budget, how to organize your finances, how to plan for retirement. These are topics like taboo. You don't talk about these. So how are you supposed to talk about unemployment? How are you supposed to talk about not having enough money? I didn't know what to do. And I felt this huge weight of shame around me. And it was like a cloud that would follow me around. And I didn't want people to know that we were in that situation, because I didn't want to be judged. Because the exterior facade was that we had it all together. We had a house, we had cars, we had vacations. We had been living a lifestyle on two incomes that we could afford the payments for. However, when one of the incomes went away, all of that came crashing down. So I was very lonely. We pretty much stopped doing anything because we didn't have money. So we stopped going out. We stopped going to friends' parties. We stopped doing anything that required us to be social and spending money. The only thing that we would indulge on would be going to the $1 movie theaters. There was a movie theater, they charge only $1, and they play the older movies, like a year old or 6 month old movies. So the kids were little, they didn't know any better. That was a way for us to get out of the house and do something on a very limited budget. And guess what? I didn't spend money on sodas or popcorn because we didn't have money for that. Because that's how they make their money, $15. You buy a soda and a popcorn and it's $15. So what I would do, I would bring my big bag and I would make my popcorn at home, and I would bring my sodas, and I would be the person in the theater. When the movie was loud, I would open the can of soda so nobody else would hear me. And I would open the bag of popcorn so nobody else would hear me. And I would hand my kids their little sandwich, little baggie full of candy that we got from home, and they would open it and they would eat it. And they never knew. They never knew that wasn't normal. But that was the only way we could afford going to the movies and then have the things that the other families were having or enjoying without telling the kids no. So that was the only thing we did that required money, and we did not cancel the gym membership. Everything else got cut. We could not afford it. So we had a gym membership to the YMCA, and we occasionally went to the $1 theater. I'm saying occasionally, but mostly we just went to the park and did picnics. So that's to let you know that if you're struggling right now, if you have debt, if you have a lot of debt and you don't know how to pay it off, the first thing that I'm going to tell you you need to do is cut all spending on food. Stop going out to eat. You can't afford it. We survived. In fact, that is something that we carry over now. The times that we go out to eat are very limited. So my recommendation for you would be the first thing you stop doing is eating out anything. You don't go out for lunch. You don't go out for dinners. You don't go out on the weekends. Make your meals at home, take your lunch to work. You're going to save hundreds and hundreds of dollars by doing that. Plus, if you are in debt and you're spending money going out to eat, you can't afford spending money going out to eat. So I used to go to my yoga class and I used to do the power yoga. And I think that's why yoga is so important in my life, although I have stopped practicing it for a period of time because I'm spending literally every minute that I'm not working or taking care of my family, growing my business, doing the content for you guys. So my power yoga classes got me through my bottom financial season in life because our instructor would put us through so much pain. And I would think during the class, if I am capable of holding Warrior 3 for 2 minutes, I can get through anything. Because some of you guys, if you're listening to this or watching this, you all think that doing yoga is like stretching. Oh, you're just like laying down and stretching. It's not. Believe me, it is work, especially if you're doing power yoga. So I would go to my power yoga class and I would be drenched in sweat at the end of the session. And I would be thinking, if I can get through a power yoga session, I can get through anything. I realized that everything was in my head because I could be thinking during my power yoga class, I can't hold this pose, and I couldn't hold it. Or I would change my thinking and say to myself, I am going to hold this pose and just concentrate on holding the pose. And guess what? I did it. I realized that the power is in the thoughts. So knowing that the thoughts were going to keep me moving forward, one day I had this aha moment. I realized that I was in the hole because I practiced financial principles that I had come across to from friends, the media, certain books, certain shows about having everything you want now and using debt and how having a good credit score is good and you should take advantage of 0% financing. I had done all of those things. However, I was in my rock bottom financially speaking. So I realized, how could I be here? It's the result of what I've been doing in the last 10 years, 5-10 years. The only way to get out of here is to start doing different things. I know it sounds obvious. I know it sounds like common sense, but how many of us believe that? How many of us believe that it is important to have a credit card and that it's important to have a credit score and that it's important that you don't waste money on rent and buy a house right away? How many people have told you that? How many people have told you that you are a fool paying cash for things when you can use a credit card, build up points, and then use those points and miles to go on vacation? How many people have told you that? And how many of you have believed it? And what is your result today? That is the important thing. What have you been doing and what result you have today? So my result then was this. I needed to go to the grocery store and I needed to check the balance on the bank account before I headed out there, because every time I use my debit card, I fear that it was going to bounce. And so I opened the computer and I look at the balance, and I had the computer sitting on my lap, and I open it, log into my bank account, and the number that appeared totally freaked me out. We had $300 left to our name. That was all the money we had. $300. Well, we had a mortgage, took our payments, student loans, credit cards, all the payments, for the house, utilities, gas, groceries. How were we supposed to live off $300? At that time in my life, I remember thinking that it was a blessing that we had credit cards, so that we could use the credit cards to pay for the things that we couldn't pay with cash, because we wouldn't have the money. I was just looking at the bank account, $300, and I just waiting, like doing the math for the day that my check was going to clear, so that we made sure we didn't fail on payments, because that was my biggest fear, failing on payments. And as I sat there, I have never felt more scared, more lonely, more ashamed, because I never imagined that we could ever be in that situation. I've told you before how I believe that if you wanted to work, there would be work for you. That's what America is, the land of opportunities. I never understood what a recession was. And so when we're going through this, and I'm sitting right there with the laptop on my lap, feeling this pain, sorrow, fear, all bundled up in my stomach. I think back at that moment, and I can see myself sitting on the couch, a brown leather couch, with the laptop on my lap, looking at the bank account balance, $300. And it was the scariest day of my life. And that was my financial rock bottom. And from then on, I decided I am going to do the opposite of what so far we have been doing. Everything that I've been doing so far obviously took me to this point. Remember, we got to change the thoughts in our heads. We got to change what we believe. If you want to have a different result, if you want to have success in your life and you don't have it today, which you're listening to this podcast probably because you were looking for answers on how to improve your situation. So if you don't have today the result that you want in your finances and in your life, you need to change everything that you have been doing prior to today. That's why I'm telling you, this podcast would be an amazing stepping stone for you if you do the work. The work today is realizing that what you've been doing put you in this situation you're facing today. And if you want a different situation tomorrow, you have to change what you're doing, okay? I have coached a lot of people that want to keep doing the same thing. A lot of people that have amazing incomes, but they have amazing amounts of debt, and they want to keep their sports cars. People who want to keep traveling even though they're using credit cards, because they've become accustomed to that lifestyle and they don't see a horizon where they make a sacrifice today to change their lives forever. So in that moment, I promised to myself that I was going to learn the real way to thrive financially, because it was obvious to me that what I had been doing, which is what my friends and the media and, books that just want to sell you this idea that debt is the opportunity, obviously was not an opportunity. It was my cavalry. So at that moment, I decided I am going to learn whatever I need to learn. I am going to read. I am going to study. I am going to invest in myself, because obviously I know nothing about how to manage money properly. I know nothing about how to create a lifestyle that I can afford. I know nothing about how to invest money, and I know nothing about how to assure that my kids will never be in this situation again. Because, guys, it got really dark. Like, I didn't want to exist. I got to a point where I did not want to exist. Now, I didn't have any crazy thoughts. I wasn't going to hurt myself or anyone. And I don't share this lightly, but I want you to know how low it was. I was so lonely and I was so hopeless, and I didn't know who to ask for help, and I didn't know who to go to, and I didn't know what to do. That after so long in this constant state of financial anxiety, you start wondering, if this is what life is going to be about, then why? You know? So when I was in that really deep, dark time, I realized that there was only one way to go, because there was no more bottom. I was at the bottom of this dark hole, and I want you to imagine it. It was like I had just free fall into a deep hole, a pit. There was nothing down there. It was dark, it was lonely, it was scary. So I looked up and I said, I don't know how, but I'm going to do whatever it takes to get out of here. And I'm going to start by learning, because obviously this didn't work, right? So I just started learning, reading, Googling, watching, came across the idea of living debt-free. And I figure that was a crazy idea, and then let it pass. Came across that idea again, and I was like, why am I so stubborn? I'm in the hole, I have all the debts, and my life is not what I want it to be. What if we give that a shot? And so I started getting, more information on how to really live a life debt-free. And I discovered that you can actually pursue a debt-free lifestyle and just be perfectly happy. You're not going to be fake like your friends who are like posing from all these places they're visiting that they're using their credit cards to go to. You're not going to be posting with nice fancy cars. You're not going to be publishing on Facebook all these pictures of your fancy meals at these restaurants. No, you're going to focus on learning the real way to enjoy financial freedom. And that's what I have done for the last 11 years of my life, guys. I've been studying how to really win with money. That's what got us through the end of our financial fiasco. My husband finally got a job. Our income doubled from one day to the other. And that was the moment I said, we're going to keep living like broke people we are, so that we can use all this extra income to pay off the debts. And we didn't go ahead and buy new stuff or anything. We didn't go ahead and finance. We didn't go ahead and go on vacations. We didn't go use credit cards. We used that money to pay the debt. And it was painful. I mean, $6,000 here to Citibank, $5,000 here to student loan, $4,000 here to this other debt. I mean, it was money coming in and going out just as fast as it was coming in, it was going out. But I knew that at the end, we would be debt-free and we would be able to enjoy life. And I wouldn't have this burden. Like I talk about it, and my shoulders and my entire body stress, because that's what that time was. That time was very stressful, extremely painful, and I never want to live like that again. And that was the most precious thing that I learned. I knew I never wanted to be in that situation. Our financial rock bottom taught me exactly the way that I do not want to live. Paycheck to paycheck, in debt, fearing of opening the mailbox because I don't want to find bills that I can't pay. Have you guys been afraid of opening your own mailbox? That can be a jail, like right there. You can be prisoner of your own mailbox. If you've been there, you understand what I'm talking about. When you don't want to get any surprise bills on the mail because you don't know how you're going to pay them. Yes? I mean, I talk about this and I get emotional and I get stressed and my stomach is now in pain and my muscles are tense because I don't ever want to live like that again. And so I'm going to lean back on my chair now and I'm going to tell you that was my rock bottom story, financially speaking. And I will never be in that situation again, because I will never borrow money again. And today, my only debt is my house. And guess what? I'm going to do everything possible to get this paid off as soon as I can. Today, I can breathe. Today, I know that if I cannot pay cash for it, I will not buy it. My husband knows that. It wasn't easy for us to get on the same page. It was not. But you know what? You gotta hold your flag. And after a traumatic experience like that one, remember what it was like 10 years ago. And so anytime, if you decide to embark on this journey to financial freedom, anytime that you're wondering whether you should buy such and such on credit or use your credit card to go on vacation, just take yourself back to what it was like. And right away, you make the decision. To me, if we cannot pay cash for it, we're not going. We're not buying it. We're not doing it. And guess what? When you decide that that is going to be the new standard of your life, then you start making things happen. I never imagined we could buy cars and pay cash for them. We did it. We replaced my car with cash. We replaced my husband's car with cash. And I'll tell you the stories later on how we did that. And it was funny because my husband for a long time had wanted a new truck. And I'll tell you all the story later. Funny story, they didn't let us buy the truck he wanted. The dealership wouldn't sell us the truck because we were paying cash for it, because the money is made in the financing. And this is hilarious, but I'll tell you that story later and how we actually made it happen to pay with cash. It's a good story, guys. But I never imagined we could do that, you know? It never crossed my mind. I never imagined people could have enough money to buy cars for cash. And I did it. So if I did it, coming from $300 in the bank account with all of these bills to pay, you can do it too. I don't care what your situation is. I don't care how much you owe, who you owe it to, what you believe in. There is a key thing here for your transformation. What you've been doing got you in this situation. What are you going to be willing to do moving forward? Because that is the key. And know something. No one will come to the rescue. I can't tell you how many times I would cry myself to sleep, just hoping we would win the lottery, just hoping we would inherit some money, just hoping someone would come to the rescue. No one did. No one will. No one will come to the rescue. Only you can rescue yourself. And with that said, I am done. Guys, it is hard for me to talk about this because it was a very painful time and it's kind of reliving it again and it's making me very stressed just to talk about it. But I do it because I think it's important. Number one, because not many people talk about their hardships financially. And I know a lot of people can relate to this. And I know a lot of people will want to make a change. And knowing that it is possible, knowing that you can actually enjoy life and live life to your fullest potential by not depending on financing and being in debt is magical. It is a gift. So I believe that I was gifted. Now, in hindsight, I see why I went through that, why we went through that. God was teaching me a lesson on how to really win with money. And he was teaching me a lesson not for me to keep. He was teaching me a lesson for me to share it with you, because not many people talk about this. And you can judge me, people can judge me, people can leave hate comments, everything can happen. But I know part of the reason why I went through such a painful time 10 years ago was so that I could today tell my story and liberate other people. I couldn't tell this story 5 years ago. I couldn't tell this story 10 years ago. It was too painful. It was too soon. It was still raw. But today I have a different result. And it is that allows me to tell my story. I know people could judge me. I know my friends can judge me. I know my family can judge me. I know strangers can judge me. I know all of that, but I don't care because I am in a different situation today. So if you are in a situation where you're feeling stressed, where you're feeling lonely, where you're feeling in a dark pit, where it's lonely and it's cold and you don't know who to talk to, you don't know where to go, you don't know what to do, I'm telling you, I have been there. And if you want to, you can get out of it. It's going to take time. It's going to take work. The most important thing is that you understand that is happening for you, that is happening for a reason. It's not happening to you. There's a reason why we struggle in anything we do in life. There is a reason. God has a plan for you. And He's trying to teach you something with every single struggle you face in life. And you know what? We were so stubborn. It took us 3 years of struggling and being in the hole for us to get it. Okay? So it might take you some time, but you need to know, regardless of your income, regardless of the size of your debt, regardless of your situation, whether you're married, single, divorced, you can too embark on your own financial freedom journey. And I'm going to be here, hopefully to inspire you along the way to take action. Because if you don't take action, all of the stress that I just went through to share this story with you is useless. So please don't make this be useless. Make it useful. Take action. And if you want to you can take action whichever way you want. Just cut your credit cards today or whatever. But if you want to get a plan, if you want to get help getting through it, go to my website, sign up for any of my free trainings, okay? I'm doing all of this because it's part of God's plan for me to make a contribution to the world. So head over to my website, yezminthomas.com, and enroll in any of my free training, resources, whatever. Also, share this with someone that you know will find it useful, someone that you know is maybe struggling with money, someone that you know will appreciate information to get them on the path to their financial success. My name is Yezmin Thomas. Thank you all so much for watching or listening. I'll talk to you next time.